What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of What's Up Cuzzo podcast with your two favorite cousins. We got Melly in the building.
What up? We back. Let's do it.
No, I'm gonna cut that out. That sounds trash. Anyway, and we got your boy Marco in the building. What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling on this Friday, man? How you feeling, Cuzzo?
I'm good, man. Another week in the books. I always feel better when it's a Friday. So man,
Man,
I ain't gonna complain.
man, you know what? It was that reminds me. I got two things actually before we jump into everything, but that reminds me when I start working at this location. I won't say because I still may or may not still be there, but it was this lady every Friday. You know, her name was Barbara. She used to sing this song, "Thank God It's Friday," and she used to get up in front of the office and
Mm.
sing that song. And guess what? Shout out to Barbara. I'm not gonna sing it, but I was just thinking that made me think about Barbara in that particular instance. And the other
Oh,
thing, man,
all right, Barbara.
uh, and we'll just say this: things have happened.
Hey, what's up? And always things will continue to happen every day.
Absolutely. And so one of those other things that I had, just a random thought, you know, I was thinking about kids and some of the experiences that I've had with you know individuals that have my kids. I'll just say that. They're the mothers of my children. And I could be totally off, I could be totally wrong. But this thought crossed my head. Um, you know, I hear them say, you know, oh baby, I love you you know, more than everything. Or I love you to death or whatever the case is. And so the thought was is like the fathers, of a lot of these women, I'm sorry, a lot of these children uh should play a role in the child's life. And a lot of times, not all the time, but in a lot of cases, the women, what they do is they don't allow the fathers to play a role. They limit, interactions, um, and all kind of things, you know, and what they don't realize in the long run that affects the upbringing, that affects the mindset, that affects the child in a lot of different ways that we don't see until the child is older. And so my question is, how much do you really love your child? Are you doing that because you think the father is a detriment to your child? Do you think that you can raise your child in all ways, by yourself? I don't know. It's just a question. And y'all see I'm ranting, but it was just a thought that I had. Like, what is the reason that you're doing this? And guess what? A lot of times I just believe this is what I believe is that it has nothing to do with the way the father or the other parent interacts with the child. It has a lot to do with your interactions. And guess what? This is the last thing I'll say, because you can interject or speak to some of my thoughts or not, and we can move on, or whatever the case is. But anyway, the other thing is just because he wasn't a great partner or she wasn't a great partner doesn't mean that he or she can't be a great father or mother. And so I see a problem with people putting those two together, and it's not affecting them because they know, oh, I don't want to be with that person. But what about this person that has no say so? They can't tell you what they want to do. They can't look to the future and tell you how things are going to be and how it's going to affect them in the future. But we do see some people, thought process, and I see some with my own kids thought process that they have that I don't necessarily agree with, it that I don't think is right. That's in my mind, you know. But and I could see where it came from. And so, do you really love your child if you're keeping them from the other parent? Now, if it's danger involved, like if there's some sense of danger where the life of the child is could be impacted, then yeah, I totally understand that. But if that's not the case, then you should be doing any and everything to make sure that your child is around both parents and gets to spend time with both parents, because that shows a part of love as well. And I'm gonna do this, you know, I'm a go biblical real quick. But there's a saying that says, it like the Bible talks about being blessed and you know, all throughout the Bible. And a lot of times people think about blessed as like receiving something monetarily or things like that. Guess what? Blessed could be a correction of behavior because you're going down the wrong path. And sometimes that could be the blessing, is correcting your path and doing something that you may not feel is in your best interest, but it's correcting behavior that makes you a better person and to help you go down a direct path. So I'm done ranting, but I just want to share that. That was just on my mind. So I'm done.
No, you good. I mean, that's some good stuff. And unfortunately, I saw a clip on a lady on Instagram, and basically she said um, something to the fact of it doesn't matter if you're good or bad. When it comes to co-parenting, the mother does not care about the child because she's solely focused on hating the father, or the hate for the father is stronger than the love for the child and being a great co-parent, or parenting that child in that situation. So that's really all women focus on. And why I say women, because that's been my experience. That's what you see the norm of. Yeah, you'll have here and there small instances to where it could be a man, but more than likely no. I haven't never heard it. Have never seen it. If it is like that, it's because the woman did something. The woman is unfit truly, maybe on drugs or doing something detrimental to herself that could harm her child. Because generally men don't think that way. They're not emotional. They're protective. They're going to always do what's going to protect the child. Um, on the other hand, the opposite sex may not think that way, or they may not feel that way. They may feel like, hey, whatever you did to me, you're going to do to my child, and I don't want them around that. Or how they're thinking about it in terms of, because we didn't work out, then you're not going to work out as a father, or you're not going to work out as being a provider for my child. So I don't want them around that. I mean, they could be thinking that way. So it's stupid. It's unfortunate for the child, but that's the way I can only look at it, because that's what I had to endure and still endure, because the relationship is still strained. So only thing I can do is, I have more children, I'm with their mom. I did learn a lesson, so I'm able to move forward and have these conversations and be at a level of communication to where, hey, if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to move forward, then this is what we're going to need to be doing collectively. This is how I'm thinking. What are you thinking? If we can do this, yes, perfect. Let's move forward. If we can't do this, and yes, there's not a yes, and we can't move forward, then there's not a relationship here. There's just a situationship, you know. We got caught in a situation, so we have to deal with it accordingly, according to the way you see it and according to the way I see it. Hopefully, we can do it collectively, but if we can't do it collectively, then it's going to have to be accordingly to whatever you feel like your part is and my part is. So that's my rant.
Not bad, man. And
No, it's good. I mean, that needs to be said. That needs to be dealt with every day, so people can start to understand, on what it truly is. Call a thing, you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, we will move to the next topic. So we have news out in Minneapolis. I'm sure a lot of you have already heard by now that there was a shooting in Minneapolis that claimed the life of a young lady. And there's an update on that particular story. And we'll go ahead and jump in. Oh, man, excuse me. Here we go. So, yeah, ICE agent shot and killed a young lady. So, here we go.
We have some breaking news now out of Minneapolis. Right now, we are getting a new look at the ICE-involved shooting that killed a 37-year-old woman in an SUV, Renee Good. The video appears to be from the perspective of one of the ICE agents. Let's take a look.
I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead. Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Oh.
NBC.
So we'll stop it right there. Cause I'll let you jump in first, and I'll go right behind you. So what do you think about that?
Anybody else, I would call that inciting, antagonizing, seeking to start something, escalating. I mean, you call it, that's what it is. It's unfortunate that, the young lady had to die because of it, but, obviously you guys are trying to do something, that you came there to invoke something or to make something happen, and you got probably more than you bargained for, but another thing too is a lot of things I've been hearing lately too. A lot of these people are getting paid to do these protesting, and it's like, okay, so at what cost, and I guess they're getting paid pretty good because you're going, across state lines, you're going across different states, leaving your family at home or, somewhere else in order for you to go do this. What you're thinking, hey, you want to be aggressive as possible, but you don't want to cross the line. I don't know what their assignment was, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't to put yourself in a position to where you could lose your life.
Right.
Yes, you want to antagonize. Yes, you want to have strategy. Yes, you want to agitate and irritate, because that's part of whatever their strategy is. It's part of their tactics, and unfortunately you almost ran, or you did run over an ICE agent, and naturally, yeah, I'm going to try to stop the threat immediately because I don't want to get hurt. I'm not trying to die out here. I'm doing a job just like you're doing a job. We both have to do a job. So respectfully, we don't want to do anything that's going to get each other hurt or one of us hurt. So it's unfortunate that had to happen, but I think this is just one of those things to where people get to look at it and blame someone for something. They're not going to address the actual problem or issue, in terms of why we were there, why it happened the way that it happened, But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, my thing is there's a lot of things that are going on in this video that I'm sorry, a lot of things that was not in the initial video that we didn't see. It was a different angle, zoomed out. We didn't get an opportunity to hear the interaction between them. And you kind of brought up a good point that these people are being, they were finding out that people are getting paid. And this is just what I heard. I don't know if it's fact or not. So I'll say allegedly. This particular individual was in some type of group where they would follow around ICE agents and notify people in areas where ICE was coming. And so again, I'll just start with, before I say my next statement, that I don't think she necessarily, needed to die. But when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And so she put herself in that scenario to be there to block the street and to drive at an ICE agent. Some people could say, I mean, from the first angle, I'm gonna be honest, it looked like he was way out of the way. But then when you look at the body cam, it looks like she drove at him. And that is a 2-ton vehicle, coming at somebody that we've seen in other instances take people's lives. And, why are you like, what are we doing out there? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's cold. You have kids. Like, you don't consider, I heard she had 3 kids. You don't consider your kids as something could potentially happen to you, especially if you're escalating to this point. I was just watching the video right now. Like, a guy was running at an officer, and the officer shot and killed him. But after trying to de-escalate, trying to, get him to sit down, trying to get him to relax, and the guy charged after the officer. And he ended up getting shot. First, they tried to tase him. The taser didn't work. And it could have been something mentally wrong with the guy, or maybe the guy just was at the end, and, wanted to be gone anyway. I don't know. The whole scenario was just a quick video I watched, but like, these are the type of things that happen when you target an agent. And so you've been out there doing, things similar, to what we see across the world, like people doxing agents and, you notifying, community people that, probably people that don't belong here, they're here illegally, that ICE agents are here. I had somewhat of a conversation with my coworker as well. It's like, we know Obama deported a lot more people than Trump has deported. And why didn't we hear a lot about this? Like, why weren't people out there protesting to this extent? Why weren't people getting in the roads and things like that? Like, why don't we remember that? What happened to that? There's a song Michael Jackson has, "Remember the Times." You know what I'm saying? Like, remember those times. And I know that's why they're doing this, is because they don't like a certain person in who's in office. And I understand that totally. Like, it's not a mystery. It's not a mystery. They don't like him. So guess what? Anything that he does or says, we're gonna go in the opposite direction. I get it. Even if it's good. And we'll talk more about that, because we have another segment where there's something that some people believe in good, but that it's good, but some people believe that it's wrong. And that's what we're dealing with. And unfortunately, like 3 kids, and this young lady, won't see each other again in this life. I think it's I'm sorry. This is the other thought I had. What places do we allow people to attack agents, officers like this to this extent? Like, it's gotten out of hand. Like, you look at, there's some stuff going on in Portland right now. People are attacking agents. People are throwing stuff at agents. We saw back before, people, like, somebody shot at an agent, in a car. Like, where do we do that at? And no, there's no repercussions. If you were in the street and they told you to get out of the street in some other country, and I know you're gonna say this is the home of the free, land of the free, home of the brave, or I said it probably backwards, but that's what you're gonna say. We have freedoms here where we could do certain things, but where does this stop at? So you don't have to obey what the law says. So you can put the law's life at jeopardy and not expect them, to do anything. It's unfortunate. I know 100% that I'm not going to try to attack or drive, past or through an agent. I already know. One, they're not going to let me. And it's something about a certain type of woman that does this. And y'all can read into that all you want to. You know what I'm saying? A certain type of woman believes that they could do whatever they want to do without repercussions. I don't know. We seen that one. It was one video of a black lady who they told her to get out the car and or not to get out the car, something like that. She got out the car and went behind the officer, and the officer asked for her information and asked for some other things. And she said, "Oh, I'm not giving it to you. I'm not going to do it." And then she threatened the officer, said that I'm going to do something harmful to the officer. And then she tried to leave. Like, it's okay now. Like, I'm good. Like, no, it don't work like that. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? And she tried to leave and they arrested her. I don't know. Again, it's unfortunate, but people, like, wake up, man. Like, you can't do these type of things. And I don't know. As they call it, Trump derangement syndrome. Everything that he's involved in, even if he's not involved in, they're going to throw his name in there. It is what it is. Anyway, on to the next subject.
Yes, sir.
So, for you guys that don't know, I'm sure most of us do, there was a raid in Venezuela where the Venezuelan president and wife was captured. They were taken into custody by the United States military, and they were brought over to the United States. And a lot of people concerned, some people are concerned that this is about fiscal gain, which, guess what? Yes. A favor for a favor. But anyway, and a lot of people are out there protesting on behalf of the Venezuelans. But you know what? I should have pulled up a video. Actually, I'm going to do that. Yeah, people are protesting on behalf of the Venezuelans, saying that, they shouldn't have done this, that, Trump is bad because he captured their president. But I don't know. I see a lot different, of what's going on in that country. Like, the people. This is what I see happening in the country.
Venezuela. ¿Listo? Venezuela. Al fin, señor, gracias. Gracias, amigo.
Hey, hey.
Por fin, Venezuela.
That's why I was stopping right there. So I see excitement in the country. And so President Trump said that he, said some things about running the country and things like that. I'll go ahead and share that because that's the part I kind of want to talk about.
Since I've been here.
Well, I have.
Great to see you, sir.
I didn't know it was a full hour. It was going to be maybe 10 or 15 minutes. But you do that to me every once in a while.
I think I was pretty clear, but thank you for your time. We always appreciate it. There's really not much in the news, so there's not a real lot to talk about, but let's start with Venezuela. Narco-terrorist, indicted, guy that we're losing 200 Americans a day to drugs.
Yeah.
Walk us through this decision in Venezuela.
Well, it wasn't a hard decision. Democrats wanted him and Republicans wanted him, and nobody had what it takes to get him or didn't want to get him. I don't know, something happened, but he killed a lot of people. He sent a lot of bad people into our country. He emptied his prisons into the United States. He emptied his mental institutions and insane asylums into the United States and did a lot of very bad things, but he was a big drug push. You see that because all the boats that we shot down, they came out of Venezuela. A lot of drugs. There's a lot of boats and a lot of drugs. There are very few boats operating right now. There's almost no boats. You can't find any boats.
I don't think anyone would go fishing in those
Not a lot of
waters.
people want to go fishing anymore. But we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by water. And we are going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. It's very, very sad to watch and see what's happened to that country. But the cartels are running and they're killing 250, 300,000 people in our country every single year. The drugs, it's horrible. It's devastated families. You know, you lose a child or a parent. I mean, parents are dying too with drugs. So we've done a really good job. We're knocking it down. The numbers are really getting to be, they're always going to be too high if you have one person, but they're going down just like the border. The border was a total mess for years. I did it the first time very quickly, and this time I did it even better because this was a bigger mess. This was a border like.
We'll stop it right there. Trump is funny, man. There was a lot of boats, thousands of boats, and we stopped them very quickly. There's no more boats in the world at all. Like, it's kind of funny, but. So I hear people on one side, as I kind of stated, concerned about how things were handled. And I looked it up, and Trump initially actually had a bounty out for Maduro. And then I saw Biden raise it to 25 million, and then not too soon after he left office, he raised it to 50 million. So he doubled it. So they had a bounty out on him. So they know he was a bad guy. They knew he was a bad dude, and he was doing things that weren't necessary on the up and up. And so, he, like he kind of stated he just went in there and did what he, not maybe not what he needed to do, but just did what he wanted to do, and took care of the threat. And I was gonna pull up the map and things like that, but I'm not gonna do that because I don't think it's necessary. But pretty much Venezuela is here, and then Florida is like right here. You know what I'm saying? So it's I could see where that could be a threat, especially if you have dealings with people who are our adversaries, Russia, China, and also, you know, the infrastructure, you know, that Venezuela has, from what I understand, is not great. Like they were set up a while ago by the U.S. to flourish years and years and years ago, but now that hasn't been the case. Over the last few decades, they have been probably one of the poorest South American countries there is, you know. And so, you know, I you know, I'm always about America first. You know, I don't know actually what this means for us outside of, you know, a little gold, a little oil. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong, a little oil. I need a little oil right now on my hands, but you know what I'm saying? Those are some of the things that I know. I don't know what it means for us long term, but the Venezuelan people are happy because this guy has allowed hundreds of thousands of people to starve. You know, the way that the country is ran wasn't beneficial, and why not? You know, like we talk about, you know, illegal migration and things like that, but if it was me, I'm not even gonna lie to you. If I saw no, you know, I can't really blame him on one hand. That's what I'm trying to say. If I saw there's no way of things being fixed, then I might do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like finding a better opportunity. And even the lowest of the low here is probably doing better than starving. And so, you know, people are complaining, people are protesting. There's some other videos out there, people protesting the streets. You know, and then you have Venezuelan people saying, no, why are y'all protesting? Like, we don't agree with that. Like, we're happy that he's gone. People that are here that can't go back to their country or couldn't go back to their country because of how it was over there. People that couldn't send funds to their friends and family, they had to send boxes of food. Like there was a guy, you know, who said he had to send boxes of food to his family because they had nothing to eat. And so I think it was a good thing. Like you know, there was a bounty out for it. Guess what? We could use that 25, 50 million for something else. You know, we don't know what's to become of it. I know he stood before trial. I mean, I'm sorry. They took him to court. He pled not guilty. And I don't know what the next steps are, but of course, probably trial. I don't know how that works for somebody international. That's out of my jurisdiction, but I'll probably look it up and I'll have some information for you. And that's enough for me talking to you, because
You were doing so well. Yeah, you could have kept it going. Yeah, I mean, when I watch Trump talk, I mean, he's definitely a character. He's definitely made for this position. I want to say, and a lot of times people tend not to like him, like you said, because of the derangement. Doesn't even matter what he's saying. Doesn't matter what other things are happening that are detriment to even you, you know, because it's this individual saying it and that's against it, you're going to be against it as well. So we don't know actually all that the reasoning is. You know, you can give us basic information and people will eat it up. Which all the things he probably said probably was true, but you know, there's many countries that do the same thing. You know, Mexico. He's talking about Venezuela. You know, so all these places, unfortunately, America in many ways has ties to these countries. You know, and we have to kind of start to understand and learn how to ask certain questions so you can get the full answer, or you can get the answer that you're looking for. Not the answer that you want to hear, but the answer that you're looking for. And the answer that you're looking for is the truth. You want the truth. And a lot of times people these days, they don't want the truth. They just want to be right. Or they just want somebody to tell them that they're right. Or they just want to feel like they're right. Or they just want to feel like they're on the right side. It doesn't really even matter, you know, at this situation. I mean, I think I've seen another meme to where we go from COVID till you go from Black Lives Matter. Now you go to Palestine. Now you go to Venezuela. It's like, what's going to be the next thing, to where you just mindlessly look at something and not have your own opinion about what's happening and what's going on. So you can even look at this thing as a victim or a victor. It just depends on how you want to look at it and assess the situation. But I believe, for whatever has happened, it's definitely going to be something greater that they're doing because of it. It's not just going to be small, like, oh, we did it because of this. No, that's not it. There's going to be many layers as to why something is happening. And when people start to be better researchers and better historians, they can start to develop a full scope of things that happen today, because these things have already happened before. This is nothing new. It's chess. There's pieces being moved around the board. And if you don't pay attention to that, then you'll get caught up in all the sensationalism, which is the protesting, the Democrats versus Republicans. That's a pawn's game. That's not what this is about. So I would challenge people to go deeper in terms of how they look at information and how they see things. And it's funny too, because I think I saw another post to where CBS was talking about, okay, we're going to start promoting the real truth, in terms of the news. And I kind of laughed to myself. It's like, it's too late. Nobody believes anything that's on TV in terms of news. CNN, I think it was the last one. CBS, Fox News, we all know Trump made that line, fake news, so it's just kind of like you have these people, or you want to call them citizens or civilians, that are just kind of taking up the mantle and say, hey, we're tired of being lied to. We're tired of not getting the full scope of information in terms of what's happening and what's going on. And then as you guys are doing things, you guys are not listening to what the people want. You guys are doing whatever you want to make happen. And that's not what the people want to see anymore. So I think more and more you're going to start seeing people take up journalism, people take up investigative journalism, people take up, local offices, because it's like, yeah, we got to do these jobs because the people that were there, doing the job, they were not doing the job that, actually benefited the people, and I kind of look at it like, being a fiduciary. Fiduciary is a term that's, if you start to look at what a trust is and you start to look at the different job titles and the roles, fiduciary is something that you have a duty to make sure you are acting in the best interest of the beneficiaries of the trust. So, in terms of trust, you've lost all but, the American people's trust. Only thing they can do is trust what they see in terms of what you're doing. And if you're doing something totally going against what people actually want, some people are going to just, flame out and, not even, say anything about it, because they know that it's one of those things to where it just looks like something totally beyond of what they ever thought was going to be based on what the person said. What I mean by that, if you're going to say that we're fighting this, we're fighting that, but then you do a whole 180 and do something totally different, now I can't say anything because I look bad. I supported you, and now you're doing something totally different. So it's like I can't even make an excuse. I can't even defend that. So I'm just not going to say anything,
Right.
Or you get to where you see these people in the street, they're protesting, they're getting paid, and your job is just to cause confusion, agitate, deter, don't get killed. I'm pretty sure they told you that on the interview. When you came in, it's like, hey, whatever you do, don't get killed. If you go to
Right.
jail, that could be on you. If we're going to jail today, if that's on the script for today, then yeah, we're gonna get everybody out of jail. But don't go to jail, don't get killed. you know, I'm pretty sure that probably was on the job
I
application.
don't know, man, because you see these cats standing in the middle of the street. I'm just like, hey,
Yeah, but if I'm in a car and I'm going to attempt to run somebody else over that has a weapon, yeah, you running a risk right there. It's not like I'm in the middle of the street and I'm just sitting in the car. That's totally different. Or I'm walking in the middle of the street. You can't just outright run these people over, which I've seen people get run over. But
yeah,
you know, that's neither here nor there. You know, you throwing rocks, you throwing bottles, you know, you throwing objects, and you still not getting shot. So, but you got a whole 4,800-pound SUV. Yeah, what you think is gonna happen? I don't see how people were upset. It's like you could be upset, but then you could also be logical. Like, yeah, you ran somebody over, and yeah, what do you think is gonna happen?
right. That's a fact.
So,
Yeah. So is it
unfortunate,
my
but it's
turn?
a reality. Yeah, you go ahead. You got it. You got it.
No, I'm asking that.
Of course, it's
Do I
your
have to
turn.
go?
You don't have to go. I mean, we can move on to the next thing. I like the flow.
Oh, okay, cool. We on to the next. I think I shared first, didn't I?
You did go first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. Where do we stop at? So we got the car. We saw that already. We talked about Trump in his interview. I don't know. There was something else that I wanted to address with this. We don't necessarily have to. I think that, like I always say, we'll just have to see how things play out. We see that people, you know, aren't objective, and this is not what I want. Here it is. So our representatives, you know, like the elected officials, you know, for those people out there who say, you know, that, yeah, all those people that say, you know, give me 1 second.
Mhm.
Yeah, for all those people who pretty much say that it's not our job or it's not our obligation. It is part of our obligation. It's important that we know who our officials are. It's important that we select the people who are to basically do our bidding. I'll just say it that way, because that's what their job is. You know, like we've gotten to a place where we think, you know, and it appears that we follow behind them and we do what they want us to do, but that's not how things are supposed to be. Like, they're elected into a particular office so they could address concerns, issues, and not just concerns and issues, but other policies and things that make our lives better and make things in life and society better. But we got into a point where they do what they want to do, and we allow them to do what they want to do. That's where we got into. We don't hold them accountable. You know, we don't, you know, reach out to them when there's something going on. There's a pothole, or there's the homelessness has gotten worse in your area. You know, a lot of different things. We don't hold them accountable. You know, so they just do what they want to do. And we'll continue to talk about things like this because we're going through like a election cycle in California, you know, in Los Angeles shortly. So we want to make sure that, you know, you guys stay aware, and, you know, that we stay on top of it as well, you know, of what's going on in our state and our city. So that's all I have to say about that. On to the next one. So yeah, locally, really back. So in California, the Ninth Circuit Court has ruled that not being able to open carry is unconstitutional via amendment number 2, the right to bear arms. So let's see. I wanted to pull up a news channel, but I actually found a video I think that will be insightful. It's from the Fresno Sheriff's Office, and they're talking about the general sense of the what that means for us, and not specifically for Fresno. So let me see. Share this. There we go.
The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals determined that the ban on open carry firearms, which applied to counties with populations greater than 200,000, violates residents' Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Under those regulations, 95% of the state's population was subject to the ban. So as soon as this ruling came forward, and I believe it was a ruling 2-1, my phone started ringing from residents who live here in the Central Valley, and more specifically in eastern Fresno County, asking me, what does this mean for them? So as I understand it, what this means is, if there is no challenge or a stay to the new ruling, what the court ruled on Friday will become effective within 7 to 21 days. Again, if there's no appeal by the state of California. So I wanted to have the sheriff come in, because the challenging thing when rulings like this come out is it's up to our local law enforcement, and Sheriff Zanoni, who's responsible for the entire county. I wanted him to just talk about what this means for Fresno County.
It's a great point to bring up. And with law enforcement and being the sheriff of Fresno County, we're always challenged by a lot of these court rulings. And unfortunately, a lot of them deal with our gun rights. And that's always a big issue. And so on our end, we will keep enforcing the law as it is written currently, because as you just read a minute ago, until the court official issues an official remand of judgment, the ban is still in effect. But this becomes challenging for our gun owners out there and our law-abiding residents who are like, hey, the court said we can, but the law says we can't. So what do we do? Right now, follow the law. Within 7 to 21 days, something official should be issued from the court if there is not an appeal by the state of California. But
You on mute.
My bad. So yeah, I'll stop it right there. As I said earlier, so California has been one of the states that the gun laws have been so strict that some things like we see in Texas and Florida, they weren't even thought of. And this is something that excuse me, that I've always considered, and I've talked about, is that who has the guns illegally? Most people. It's usually those people who are not law-abiding citizens. And so you have the law-abiding citizens who, most of them, I'll say most of them, because there still are some who, kind of, it's a gray area. I'm not saying myself or anything, but there's a gray area that some carry, and they, the laws don't say that they can, based on what they've done to what's the word I'm looking for? What they basically is this a process? They haven't gone through the process, right? So, but then you have people out there who don't give a damn about any laws, any process, any person, and they use it for nefarious acts. So what happens is you have the person that's obeying the law, and then you have the person that don't give a damn. So one of them has a gun, one of them don't. And guess what? I want your stuff, and I got more firepower than you do, and so I'm gonna take your stuff. and the person who is law-abiding citizen who follows the rule of the law, they're put at a detriment. And that's something that I've always thought wasn't fair, for the longest. And I had a conversation with my mom. She's like, "Oh, that's that's gonna be a problem. We're gonna be in trouble." And I had to explain to her, like, okay, I explained to her that exact same way, but obviously shorter. And I said it a lot easier too. But for some reason, y'all make me nervous. But anyway, I said it to her just like that to get her to understand is that this is how it was meant for us, meant for things to be, for us to be able to bear arms within reason. Like if you are not a criminal, you shouldn't be held at the same standard as the criminals are, which don't give a damn. They don't care. So they're gonna carry regardless. And so when that meets up with a person who wants to obey the law and wants to do things right, you're put at risk. And so this kind of evens the lines. Now they don't know. The sheriff actually kind of spoke to it. Like right now, nothing has changed. And he said like 21 days or something like that. But I even see like if this doesn't get overturned or challenged, that it'll probably take a lot longer than that for like things to fully change. Maybe 6 months, a year or so. But I think it's a good thing. Now, people won't, certain people won't get put in a bad situation because they're trying to do the right thing. And I think that's really what it is. We've seen all these break-ins. We got people, breaking into jewelry stores. I think we talked about that where the older guy had a heart attack and a stroke. You got people, breaking in convenience stores, breaking in houses, all kind of things. So now they have to really think twice that like, I mean, if they're smart, they would think twice about doing it. But some people are going to do it anyway. But this makes things a little more even and makes things right. What else are we doing that's not constitutional in our state constitution and the Constitution of the United States? Like what other things? And then I think this is if it doesn't get overturned, I think this is a big dub for California. That's just in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, at large, the reason why they have these things in place is control. The people that are at the top, they want their jobs to be, in a sense, easier because if I don't have armed citizens, law-abiding citizens, I don't have to worry about them when this happens or B happens. Something criminally happens, then I can know that's one of those things that's an outlier. Yes, crime happens every day, but crime doesn't happen but every so often. They got it down, I think, to like statistics. So if I'm out here and I'm looking for criminals with guns, opposed to understanding and knowing that every citizen has a gun just in case crime happens, they can think about it in those terms, which to me makes sense, but it makes even more sense to say, hey, if something happens or someone breaks into someone's property, then good night to that criminal. We'll be coming to pick up the pieces, or to sort that out. Hopefully no one gets hurt, but if you break into someone's home to take some things or to cause any type of harm, then good luck. Because I can say for me personally, yeah, if anything that comes close to mine, I already told, my people, hey, get my bail money ready, or, hopefully somebody knows a good lawyer, because I'm not taking chances, because that's just my role in my job. So when it comes down to this, I think California has been one of the stricter states, because for me personally, I've been a few different times, went down there, did the paperwork to even get my concealed carries license because, of the type of work that I've been doing over the years, with different estates and, high profile clients. So it's just kind of like that in itself takes some time because it's designed to do that. They don't want to just give this out, and then have this person, that person being able to have this same type of anonymity that almost like a police officer's. What it's not the same thing because I'm not a peace officer, or people who have concealed carry licenses, they're not peace officers, but in their own capacity, they want to be able to, arm themselves in their private capacity. So if something something happen, they can defend themselves, from loss of life. That's just their thought process, and even when you had like Wild Wild West, everybody had a gun. Somebody wanted to take your stuff, it's like stick them up. Or we go out here, we shoot it up, Yes, society is a lot more tame, but some instances, like you say, people smash and grabs. You got flocking, you got people, looking at certain neighborhoods, staking them out, then they'll run up on you. Then we've seen videos that, hey, you run up in the wrong house, they got that stuff waiting for you.
Hey, let me see that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they don't see that you are 13, 14, 15, 16, trying to make a quick grab for some cash or some appliances so you can sell it. That's not what they're thinking about. It's like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. You coming here to take and to do whatever else. I don't know, because everybody like we talked about earlier, we've all grown up seeing videos or seeing movies, so we thinking about any and everything when something happens, in that capacity. So hey, this one more time, it's and ask questions last, So that's the way we look at it. But all in all seriousness, I definitely hope that they, see this through, and I definitely hope that this is something that, because it is your rights, constitutional rights, to be able to bear arms, like you said, within reason. So it's like, why do I need a license, or why do I need permission in order to do this when my constitutional rights are protected by the constitutions, my rights to do this or that and the other? No, I don't want to do your job, but I want to be able to do my job in my private capacity and not be infringed on that because you want to feel a certain way about what you say is going to happen or say is happening. And we all know that not to be true. So that's my spirit.
And I'll just say this last thing. You kind of touched on it at the end. They are, a lot of our rights may not necessarily be infringed on, but this one is something different. This one, in a sense, has been because of policies and things like that they have in California. But what I was going to say is, I think it's important that we start to learn what our rights are. Because I see these videos about guys recording in public all the time, and if they're standing on a public sidewalk, even though it seems weird and odd, it's not against the law.
Mm-hmm.
And the law, some do, some are great, some cops are great. They come out, they say, "Oh, you're not doing anything wrong. You're in public. You're in public. You can record." But then some try to infringe on rights. They try to ask for IDs. They try to ask for, they try to tell them that they try to trespass them off the sidewalk. They try to get them to leave. And, and then they try to do the whole thing. Oh, what if somebody's standing outside in front of your house? Well, yeah, it'd be weird. You know what I'm saying? I'll probably ask them to leave, but if I can't get them to leave, then it's nothing I can really do. But yeah, that's good, man. Like you said, I hope they see this through. And some of y'all, out there who have been preying on people, man, hey, gotta be careful. You know what I'm saying? Because you might walk into the wrong house and you might, come across the wrong person trying to take their stuff. And so be careful out there, because you don't want to end up. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we're on to the next one. These are two quick videos that I had that I wanted to play. I'm gonna play them back to back because they're in a similar lines. And I thought this was like some type of thing that went viral, but we'll see. Let me see. I thought it was funny to go try not to laugh. You know what I'm saying? But very entertaining. There we go. There we go. Hopefully yeah, let me see. Okay. Oh, what?
No sound.
Yeah, I see that. All right. Let me see if I could share the other one. Hold on. Let me see. Okay. Wait, and maybe that one. Oh, that's what it was. Okay. The sound was down on that one. Yeah, there we go. Share X. All right.
I'm so happy that I see more women, speaking out about this, because before, a lot of women are made to feel like as if we're not allowed to have standards when it comes to men. Yeah, and I do believe that women, especially beautiful women, should not date ugly women. They should not procreate with ugly men. Beautiful women should not procreate with ugly men. Because what does that do? When you have beautiful women that procreate with good looking men, more than likely their children are also going to be beautiful. No, I'm not saying that's always the case, that they're going to pop out good looking kids because they're good looking, but 8 times out of 10 you're going to have good looking kids when you procreate with good looking women. When you procreate with bad looking men, it's going to affect, your gene pool. You know what I'm saying? And there's too many. It is the reason why there is too many ugly people in the world.
So I'm gonna share this one.
Most men are deeply unattractive because of Mother Nature and something called the Great Scam. The Great Scam was the day that the male of the species convinced the female of the species that it no longer needed to prove itself worthy in order to reproduce and have babies. But the fact that the men are ugly says otherwise, right? They're not supposed to exist. They're supposed to be cannon fodder to the strong, attractive men who are worthy of having babies. So while y'all are out here being like the men don't take care of themselves, that's why they're unattractive. No, you're fucking a 10,000-year-old genetic anomaly. He's not supposed to exist, babe. Like there's no amount of moisturizer and sunscreen that will change the fact that his great grandma should have fucking swallowed him. Like we are out here fucking and making babies like we're a goddamn endangered species, but the breeding stock is foul. And that's why most men are ugly. Okay. They DEI'd themselves into someone's grandma's coochie. And now we are all forced to deal with the consequences.
All right. Hold on, let me restart. I'm gonna restart real quick. Let me refresh. All right, yeah, my thing, it was tripping over here. So I saw this video and the first lady said, she's glad more women are talking about it. So I would have to look more into it to see if this is trending. But just to see these two women, I wonder, are they speaking from personal experience as to why they said men, women should not? I mean, the children that ugly man and a beautiful woman bears is they're the the outcome of that type of experiment. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Like, there's certain things that you can speak to, and this is not one that they should be speaking to. I'll just say that. Like before, when I was working out and I was in better shape, I could say, you know what, you need to work on this. You know, so and so, whoever I came in contact with, come work out with me. However, you know, at this point right now, you know, I can't really say as much, or you know, they look at me like, who the hell are you talking to? You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And so that's what I'm trying to say. Like, who the hell are y'all talking to?
mm,
Who is this message for?
mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, you know, I don't like to call people ugly. And I'm not saying that. Y'all said that. Y'all call people ugly. What I'm saying is that you should probably get a better representative to relay this message to people. And this is the last thing I'll say about it. I think women have a delusion about themselves. Not all women, but a lot of women, because men, it's harder for men to get an interaction, you know, with women, you know, sexual or, you know, that type of relationship with women. It's harder for men, even if you like the greatest, you know, looking guy, or the, you know, the guy who knows how to pick up a lot of women. Like, their percentages is still not high as a woman. Like, a basic woman could get a lot of guys, but the dynamics is different. You know what I'm saying? Women have the right to say, no, you can't have sex with me. Yes, you could have sex with me. Some men have that option too, but still, you can get an average looking woman that could get way more guys than a you know, good looking guy can, just because they're a woman, because guys want that thing. You know what Lauren Hill say? That thing, that. That's what men, they want that. And so for these ladies to come on here and say that, I think it's ridiculous. I think people should be with who they want to be with. It's definitely, and actually I had a conversation with my boy about this. A lot of times it's not about how you look per se, because you could have two good looking people that birth a not so good looking baby, and it could be what they're going through. It could be, you know, physically what they might be dealing with. There could be a lot of factors involved in that, you know, and I kind of get what she's saying, but still, it's not about that. It's about, you know, creating a life with somebody who you, not just who looks good, but I think the main important thing, I mean, I'm over here lying actually, because you got to look somewhat decent. You know what I'm saying? I'll just say that. But it's about you guys connecting in a different way. You know, that's what it's about. And, you know, for them to come on here and say that, and them being the messengers of that, I don't know, man. We need somebody else. Oh, I remember this clip. I might have to put that clip in there. This dude, Draymond Green, you know, Charles Barkley was talking about, you know, weight. And then that dude, Draymond Green, said, hey, Chuck, you're the wrong one to deliver that message. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at right there. That's where I'm at with that, man. I'll let you share. I'm done
Right. Yeah, I mean, the wrong one to deliver the message. And I just think that came from an ideal thought process, you know, not necessarily something that's happening. It's not an epidemic. You know, I always believe that there's somebody for everybody on this planet, whether you ugly, you know, beautiful, tall, skinny, whatever. There's going to always be somebody for you on this planet. And there's some truth to what she's saying, you know, but it's not like there's an issue or an epidemic or a problem. You know, we can be talking or thinking about mixing or inbreeding, you know, with you know, white and black. You know, that's always been one. Or the other one is, if you're I've heard of, if you're ugly and dark skinned, you know, for women, you want to mix with a light skin or, you know, somebody else, so your child will be beautiful. I've heard that one before, but never the one that they're talking about, an ugly man with a beautiful girl. And like I'm saying, do they consider themselves beautiful? Do they consider themselves, you know, part of that gene pool, you know? Because as I was watching, all I can think about is Bebop and Rocksteady, you know, from the Ninja Turtles, sitting here talking. And I was like, they can't be talking about themselves, and it's like, if you are, then okay, yes, stay away, preserve your gene pool, by all means. We don't want to taint your gene pool. Keep it to yourself. No problems at all. America thanks you for doing, that bid, for your civic duty
Absolutely.
of not, bringing any more ugly children into the world because you messing around with ugly men. But that can just come from, like I said, an ideal and experience. Men that you've messed with, they've probably been to a level that you feel like is not to your standard. So you want something much higher or much, above of what you're used to getting, so that might be an ideal of yours. And I get it. Everybody wants better. Everybody wants a higher tier, experience, in having a relationship, whether it be looks or whether it be money. The buzzwords these days are high value men and women, and it's just kind of like you have to not really play or speak to your level, but you have to understand that what you want, in a mate is not going to necessarily want you. So you could be looking for somebody beautiful, somebody this, somebody that, and they can be looking at you. They want the same thing, and they don't see that in you. So you got to be ready for that kind of jolt of reality to say, like, I know I'm not the greatest looking person, but I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. I'm not looking for this because I know somebody might see me as that. And that's just based on what society calls beauty. We all know it. High cheekbones, in shape, going to the gym. And it looked like any of them was doing any of that stuff. I could be wrong. I could see some features in them that I don't find attractive, but to me, they're not ugly women. They just were not the beautiful ones that they were talking about. You're not 879. You're not 789s. You're tiers below. And not to
What
say that,
number?
huh?
What numbers is that?
What numbers were they? I'll let the audience decide what numbers they were. And I don't really judge it on a scale of numbers. I like what I like.
789, man. I'm just trying to see what you.
I'm just saying in terms of how we sensationalize numbers.
Got it. Okay.
We me and you on the podcast not too long ago, we talked about the ends. You know what I'm saying? The IANs.
Yeah.
So it's like the IANs is up there. They about 8, 9, 10. So it just depends. But people like exotic looks. I saw a woman today. She was overweight, but she had long, dark hair, a couple of beauty marks on her face. Skin was clear. I was like, oh, that's a beautiful woman.
Right.
But, it's like, man, but she was overweight. So it's like, it could possibly, based on her personality, that could be something that can be overlooked. And then if you get with this person, maybe you influence this person in being healthier, working out more, possibly, or it could go the other way, and then I'll be 300 pounds. So,
Right.
it can be either way. So, all that to say is, people say things on this internet all the time to get these reactions, and they serve a purpose and a role, but hopefully they see things in a way that it's going to be beneficial for them, not messing up any gene pools. I'll say that. So,
right. And I'll just say this last thing, man. Oh man, sorry. Oh, I can't get Bebop and Rocksteady out of my mind, But another classic show, not a movie, but a classic show we used to watch for sure. Old school Ninja Turtles.
Right.
Yeah. But what about attitude? You know what I mean? Like we talk about, being ugly. They didn't say physically. I mean, I guess they did say physically, but what about your attitude? Like there's so many women out there who are, beautiful in appearance, but their attitude is messed up and like nobody wants to be with them. You know what I mean? So shout out to them. You know, as Cuzzo said, man, shout out to y'all for, you know, bringing awareness and, you know, don't affect the gene pool, you know, over here. You know what I'm saying? We
Don't do
good.
it. Don't do it.
What is your expectation? I mean, what is your idea of beauty, you know, or ugly? I don't know. It varies because I know I like people that other people don't like, and vice versa. Like some guys that my friends have said, "Oh, she's beautiful," or she's fine. I'd be like, "What, her?" You know, and I remember one time. This is one thing I probably this is the last thing I remember. You know, I was over coworker's house. We had went. You know, we hung out. You know, we was at work. He said, "I'm gonna have an event." He hung out. You know, I was back there. You know, he had a little bar in his garage. He was bartending and stuff like. I mean, I was bartending actually, and so I, you know, I had a few drinks too, and I got to a point where, you know, my eyes and my mind weren't working together, and it was this girl that was there, and she was like, she wanted to, you know, come back to the house. She wanted to holler at me, and I was like, for sure. And my boy, he kept asking me, he was like, "Hey, Dub," you know, they call me Dub. "Hey, Dub, you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm sure." Like, what you mean? Like, why you keep asking me, why you asking me, am I sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Like, she want to come back to the house. And so, you know, I was still, you know, having fun, entertaining, you know, and the goal was to get back to the house, right? And so, you know, we leave or whatever, and we ride together, you know, and he's like, "Dub, like, you sure, Dub?" I'm like, "Man, bro, like, why do you keep asking me that?" He didn't really say, he didn't really go deep into it, you know. But he was like, I'm just asking, just, you know. And then we get back to the house, and then I see why I done came down, you know, I'm not tipsy no more, and I see why he was asking me, was I sure? And luckily, you know, I was sober at the time, and all we did was talk all night. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my boy. You know, I ain't gonna say his name because then the person might know who they are. But yeah. So anyway, that is all topics today. We did have one other topic about taxes on tips, but we'll address that later. I want to get more information and insight on that. But another successful Friday. Appreciate you, Cuzzo, for hopping on, giving your insight, your perspective, your wisdom on what we have, and you know, you being in the other part of this What's Up, Cuzzo podcast. Everybody have a fantastic weekend, and I'll let you jump in, Cuzzo. You close us out.
No doubt. Appreciate you as always, Cuzzo, for putting it together and getting us together. And yeah, man, all I ask people to do out there, man, is give yourself an opportunity to think for yourself, you know, and not mess up your gene pool. So, you know, everybody out there this weekend, you know, think about it twice.
Thrice if you need to.
Thrice if you need to.
Cool. So please let us know what you think about what we're doing here. Like, comment, subscribe, share this on, you know, we're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, we are on Instagram and X. What's Up, Cuzzo podcast. We appreciate you, man. Have a phenomenal weekend on purpose. Peace.